Is another massive government-backed medical project the solution to a global crisis? Or are we witnessing the tightening grip of pharmaceutical giants on our international health policy? With a deadly strain of Ebola currently tearing through parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the timing of this new venture is raising as many questions as it is providing answers. Before we continue, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in the intersection of U.S. politics and global influence, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow and ensures these important conversations reach a wider audience. The Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, better known as CEPI, has just announced a $50 million investment into Moderna. The goal? To fast-track the development and initial clinical testing of an investigational vaccine specifically targeting the Bundibugyo strain of the Ebola virus. This is a notoriously deadly pathogen, and the current outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo has once again highlighted the terrifying speed at which these viruses can move. If the early data from these trials turns out to be positive, the funding agreement doesn't just stop at the lab. It is designed to extend into full-scale manufacturing and the progression to later-stage clinical trials. Now, on the surface, this sounds like a straightforward humanitarian effort. After all, Ebola is a humanitarian disaster of the highest order, and any effort to curb its spread should ostensibly be welcomed. However, when we look at this through the lens of U.S. political influence and the massive shift in how we handle global pandemics post-2020, the narrative gets significantly more complicated. We have to ask ourselves, why Moderna? This is a company that has already become the face of the mRNA revolution. They have transitioned from a biotech firm to a household name, largely driven by massive federal contracts and government-partnered initiatives. By injecting $50 million into their infrastructure, CEPI is essentially subsidizing the scaling of a platform that Moderna owns. This isn't just about a one-time vaccine. This is about cementing a specific corporate player as the permanent architect of our global pandemic defense. Furthermore, we need to talk about the political pressure cooker this creates. The intersection of global health foundations and private pharmaceutical interests is where transparency often goes to die. When tax dollars are the dollars of organizations that function like international bureaucracies flow into private, for-profit corporations, the American taxpayer is left footing the bill for the risk, while the corporation reaps the reward of the intellectual property. Who is really being served here? Are we looking at a proactive measure to save lives in the Congo? Or are we looking at a preemptive move to secure lucrative future contracts under the guise of an international emergency? History has shown us that when the emergency designation is used, oversight usually takes a back seat. We are seeing a pattern where public health initiatives are becoming inextricably linked to the bottom lines of a handful of companies, effectively creating a feedback loop where private profit and public policy become impossible to untangle. The potential for conflict is huge. If this vaccine succeeds, Moderna strengthens its position as the go-to provider for future global health threats. If it fails, they have already secured the funding to cover the costs of the attempt. In the high-stakes world of biosecurity, it seems there is rarely a scenario where the pharmaceutical giant loses, while the public is left to deal with the volatility of the results and the mounting costs of these perpetual programs. We need to be asking harder questions about the influence these organizations have over our domestic policy. When these foundations make these deals, they are effectively shaping the landscape of the U.S. medical-industrial complex without a single vote being cast by the American people. It is a quiet, boardroom-driven shift that carries massive implications for our future, our freedom of choice, and the fiscal integrity of our public health systems. So what do you think about this? Does this investment represent a necessary step toward global safety? Or is this just another example of Big Pharma exercising too much influence over our international affairs? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to know where you stand on the growing power of these pharmaceutical giants. The reality is that we are living in an era where the lines between corporate interests and government mandates are becoming increasingly blurred. We will continue to track these developments, because when $50 million moves behind closed doors, it is only a matter of time before it impacts the way we live our lives right here at home. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay ready to challenge the status quo. Thank you for watching.